Hey guys, Mike from mikesgaminggala here, and welcome to part 3 of our Intellivision tier ranking series. As I said in the previous videos, please take any tier ranking like this with a grain of salt. My mood on any given day could mean the difference between an A or a B ranking. For instance, in this video, I give Defender of the Crown a B. After playing it more for a recent review, I'd bump that up to A tier. My opinions may not line up with yours, and that's okay. We can still be friends. Today we're checking out Elektronite games and doing a bit of a wrap-up. Now, this goes to the back, because that is technically Homebrew Inc. Let's be honest. We're talking about the GOAT now. Elektronite has been producing physical homebrews since 2012, if I'm not mistaken. I hopped on as a game tester for Elektronite in 2014, and it was my introduction to Intellivision Homebrew. I am going to rate these as 24, as 2024 should you buy. And yes, Mr. Baseman, this is the last publisher that I'm covering. So some of these games, because Elektronite's been doing it for as long as they have, when they came out, they might have been S or A tier, but now they may be C tier, for instance. But right off the bat here, A Tale of Dragons and Swords is an S tier game. A Tale of Dragons and Swords is a dungeon crawler. You could say similar to A Legend of Zelda when you're in the dungeons, or you could say similar to... I'm not really sure what you'd say similar to. Even kind of a Gauntlet, although you don't get all the enemies. But you're exploring this dungeon, you go through several different levels, you have to get... earn gold by killing enemies, find the characters, the NPCs in the dungeon that sell you item upgrades, that give you special abilities, allow you to get you to new places, and be stronger, and eventually face one of, if not the most impressive boss battles in any Intellivision game. Alright, Mr. Baseman, take care. Feel free to come and watch this one later, because there's going to be a bunch of S's in this one. Wonderful game. 3 endings. You can get the first 2 endings on any difficulty, but the third ending you can only get on hard difficulty. Great game. Great game. And my review of this was the introduction of Mike the Knight. Anthropomorphic Force. S tier. This is a hard game. Even on easy, this is a hard game. But it's generous with its checkpoints. Intellivision Gamer. He just spammed my member emoji of me in drag from my James Bond review. Yes, I dressed up as a femme fatale. I also dressed up as Blofeld and as James Bond in that intro. It's one of my favorite intros. Anthropomorphic Force, shooter. Almost feels like Caverns of Mars sometimes, because you're moving down through a cavern to get to a boss, and then you move down through a cavern to get to a boss. But you shoot very different. You're in kind of like one of these Macross kind of things. Very hard game. Not unbeatable by any stretch. I have not played it on the harder difficulties. I'm scared to. But such a good game, and all the bosses, like, they're big. Like, the Intellivision doesn't do... Like, you get 8 sprites on an Intellivision. And the fact that he's able to have this big, massive, like, earthworm that attacks you, or jellyfish, or spider that takes up like half the screen. So impressive. Great game, great music. Love it. Boulder Dash. Boulder Dash has a special place in my heart because it is the first Intellivision Homebrew game I ever played. And it was the first Intellivision Homebrew I ever played because I was a game tester on this, and I actually met William through a video game Facebook group where he was asking, does anybody know how to play Boulder Dash and is decent at Boulder Dash and want to play test this for me? And he lived at the time in Hamilton, which was, he was like a 15-minute drive from me. I went over, I sucked, but he's like, you know what? Here, I'll make you a cart. Take it home, play it some more, and if you get any better, let me know. Otherwise, I'll need the cart back. And within 3 days, because I played it and played it and played it and played it, I was able to beat every level. And a fun story is there's one of the bonus stages that I played. You know, there are a lot of very attractive people in Canada. I would do terrible in a drag race up here. Canada drag race. And so I beat one of the bonus levels, and one of the other testers had kept saying, it's not beatable, it's not beatable, it's not beatable. Well, this is a port of the, it's probably closest to the Atari 8-bit version. And so what I would do to learn how to beat each level is I would go on YouTube, watch somebody beat the 8-bit Atari version, and then go back and just try to do that in the same levels. And I figured out how to beat that level, and I was able to beat it like on the last second. I was able to get in the thing. And I told him, no, it is beatable. It's very, very tight, but it's beatable. And he's like, I don't believe you. I need to see footage. And so I filmed it on my CRT, and he went completely silent after that. Another thing to note is that Boulder Dash is fully licensed. That license unfortunately expired. This is one of the ones you may not be able to get now. Ask, there might be some old stock. Never know. But it is possible that you wouldn't be able to get this one. There are also, exclusive to this version, 5 bonus caves that were programmed by Scott Nuds, the programmer. And to access those, again, I believe you press 9 at the title screen. Fully licensed port, wonderful version, bonus material, A tier for Boulder Dash. Thank you, Casey. Yes, I love this shirt. I was actually going to grab my Intellivision collector shirt. I haven't used it on camera yet, but I have an Intellivision collector shirt that I will use when I review one of those. Cat Attack. Cat Attack is another Rally X clone. It does a lot of things different, though. It doesn't have a radar. You play as a mouse, and the enemy cars in the maze are cats, and your goal is to go through the mazes and get cheese. There's no radar, but it does give you kind of an indication where cheese, the general direction that cheese is, and it does give you, if you're playing on an easier difficulty, you have the option to turn it on off, give you a general idea of where cats are. It also has a slider, so you can play it in super slow mode, or you can play it in ultra fast mode. I actually find it aggravating in slow mode, but if you got little kids, that's great. It is a solid version. It's got good music. Again, like Rally X, or X Rally rather, it's probably a B+, but I'll slide it up to the A tier. If you were to tell me, should I get X Rally or should I get Cat Attack, I would ask you, do you prefer smooth scrolling, because Cat Attack has a smooth scrolling, or do you prefer to have the radar? And it's a trade-off. So if you prefer the radar, you get X Rally. If you prefer the smooth scrolling, you get Cat Attack. They're both great games. D2K Arcade. So like I mentioned earlier, This has DK Arcade in it, and so you can play game 1, which is DK Arcade, and you can play game 2, which is D2K, and that's 5 new levels. Solid homebrew, even today. If you're a Donkey Kong fan, which I'm not really, but if you're a Donkey Kong fan, that's a solid purchase every day of the week. I'm going to skip. I'm going to go right to DK Arcade. In today's market, if you are looking to invest in some Intellivision homebrew, DK Arcade, although it is a wonderful port, it is included in D2K. You do not need to purchase this one. If you have zero interest in bonus levels, you just want the OG Donkey Kong, pick it up. I have no problem recommending it. Like, it is a good game, but it's included in this one. You don't really need it. And so that's why it's at C tier for me. At the time when this came out, D2K had already been released. Like, this was available as ROM prior to that, but Elektronite's first release, believe it or not, was D2K Arcade. And then they came out after with DK Arcade, because people wanted it. If you're a collector, you got to get it. But if you're not a collector and you just want the games, get D2K Arcade. Defender of the Crown, another fully licensed port. This is missing. This has the joust in it, but it is missing the flails, the ball and chain fighting. It's a different kind of game for sure. Think it's got a bit of risk to it. Like it's got a map screen and you're managing armies and fortresses and you siege castles, and if you're in trouble you contact Robin Hood and he gives you some troops to help fight, and your goal is to take over all of England, so that, I guess, the king can be reinstated. It's a decent game, but I'm not the biggest fan of it, and I really wanted to be. There are better versions elsewhere. In other versions, I get the joust, like I succeed in the joust like 75% of the time. In this version, I think I've only succeeded in the joust like 2 or 3 times out of the 50 times I've tried. Ambitious. If it had been a little less ambitious, it probably would have gone higher, but I would put that at B tier. Hover Bover, another fully licensed game. Hover Bover is Jeff Minter at his best. Llamasoft. This has IntelliVoice. I'm trying to look. Are there other ones there that have IntelliVoice? There are. Anthropomorphic Force has IntelliVoice. I know that. Oh, hey, I didn't see you come in there. Hover Bover is a great game. It's I really like Hover Bover. There's not too much to it, and I wish it had more levels, but just in pure gameplay, like, literally you steal your neighbor's lawnmower and you're mowing your lawn, and you've got your trusty dog with you, and you try not to run over your dog, and you try to dodge your neighbor who's chasing you, and if you accidentally run over the plants, then the gardener's chasing you too, and you beat each level by mowing all the grass. You wouldn't think that would be a good game, but it is a fantastic game. Infiltrator. We're back to S. Infiltrator is Metal Gear Solid on the Intellivision. Brilliant, brilliant game. Super impressive. I like it a lot. There's really not much more to say. You got Metal Gear on your Intellivision. Much better than the NES version if you've ever played the NES version. Lost Caves of Kraz. This is one that William actually doesn't like, but I think the reason that he doesn't like it is because of it was a pain to publish. Lost Caves of Kraz, the way I like to kind of pitch it is Lost Caves of Kraz is like a Zelda game if it was only like Zelda Breath of the Wild if it was only the shrines, right? You go into all these different rooms and you have to solve a puzzle, and then you get a piece of the crown, and that allows you to advance to the next level, and then you get a piece of then you have to solve that puzzle, and you have to like move blocks, you have to switch levers, and it's a really good brain game. For me, it's an easy A. I really like Lost Caves of Kraz. Match 5. Match 5 is not the most impressive looking game, but it is a very, very addictive puzzle game. If this was on a phone, this thing would sell millions of, well, not sell, but we get millions upon millions upon millions of downloads. You have to, every turn, you're able to move one piece. And then a few more pieces show up on the board. And you have to then move another piece, and then more pieces show up on the board. And the idea is to create matches to clear areas so that you don't get blocked off. I would give Match 5 an A. Match 5's an excellent game. Mindhunter. This one's kind of funny. This was another early Elektronite release. I believe it was programmed earlier. It was an earlier homebrew that was then released physically by Elektronite. It's Minesweeper. It's a good version of Minesweeper, but it's Minesweeper. In 2024, it's not a bad game. I don't think it deserves D. In 2024, this doesn't get a cartridge release. Good version of Minesweeper, but you can play Minesweeper for free in a lot of other places. Yes, it could. It could. Miner 2049er. Fully licensed. The thing about this is the best version of Miner 2049er that's ever been released. It's got not only the original 10 caves, but it has 10 extra caves that had input from the original programmer, Bill Hogue. Like I said, it was fully licensed. That license was then sold to, believe it or not, I believe Atari. And so this is another one that you might not be able to get a hold of. If you see it for a good price, pick it up. It is the best version of Miner 2049er out there, hands down. Just by virtue of the fact that you've got twice as many caves in it. It looks like it belongs on the Atari 8-bit computers, but it plays fantastic. Ninja Odyssey. Okay, so right now up here we got 2 Kai Magazine games. This was Kai Magazine's Oscar Kenneth, if I'm not mistaken, it was his first published game, was Ninja Odyssey. It's a really good game. I like it a lot. I love it. But I think it's missing that S quality. Just not the quality, it's obviously really good quality. It's got good music, it's got cinematics and stuff like that. It just, that extra little special something that bumps it up to S, it doesn't have the same depth as, say, a Tale of Dragon and Swords or Anthropomorphic Force. I can beat Ninja Odyssey at least one run through. You can then run through the game again up to 3 times, I believe, with increasing difficulty. But I can get through it the first time in like 20 minutes. Shorter game. But I was also a playtester on this, so I've been playing it for a long time. Great game, highly recommended, just not quite S tier. Old School. This is another maze game. Kinda, it's an earlier Elektronite homebrew. Yeah, a maze game, kind of like a Pac-Man or a Lock and Chase or any of those kind of games where you have a maze and you're trying to get around and collect things and then exit, and you can move screens and get to new areas. Good game. I haven't played it in a long time. You've got, and I think actually what it's showing here is somebody being hit with a chalk brush. I think you actually pick up chalk brushes and you can throw it at enemies to stun them, if I recall correctly. This one's a solid B. It's a good game. When it first came out, it could have been A or S for sure, because it's pretty unique. But nowadays, I'd put it B. You're not going to be disappointed if you pick it up. Paddle Party is a collection of mini games, all based on kind of the Pong mechanics. So you've got air hockey, you've got a legit Pong, you've got like space Pong thing. I remember there's one where like asteroids take out the playfield. But today, it's kind of like Mindhunter. Back when you were getting 5 or 6 new Intellivision games every year, man, that's up here. Cool. We got this compilation cart. Nowadays, when you're getting like 30 games a year, maybe it doesn't belong to be one of them. Let me have a sip of water. Robot Army. Not gonna be disappointed. Yes. Robot Army. I am the voices in this game. Those are not the digitized voices. That is me being very bland and being robots. What I like about this is Robot Army is Berserk, but it has a story mode. And that story mode, you move through, you're basically moving through a maze to try to find the boss, which would be like Evil Automeyer or something like that. And then it has a boss fight. It's got cutscenes, it's got music, and it's got great music. Robot Army, I'd put A tier. I've always been a fan of Berserk. If you're not a fan of Berserk, you might drop it a bit. But for me, I really like Berserk, and this is a great version of it because it has the extra elements. Hoo boy, Star Mercenary, no question. Star Mercenary is S tier. Mike stars in this game. S tier instantly. No, it isn't. Star Mercenary is kind of like Bosconian, that kind of, or maybe the Dreadnought Factor, that kind of game where you're flying over, but it's got RPG elements. It does have slowdown because of all the stuff that's on the screen, but that slowdown never detracts from how awesome it is. It is the kind of game that you have to grind a bit before it gets really at its best, because you start off with a very weak ship with a very slow boost and a short boost, and you don't have a lot of lives or shields or whatever they call them. So you'll fly in, you'll shoot 2 ships, then blow up, and then you get your little bit of money from that, and you go back and you do it until you're able to upgrade your ship. And then the rest of the game's awesome. But it's S tier. It's hands down S tier. I love that game. Steamroller. This is the first game that I was a voice in. This is IntelliVoice, and it is my voices in it. I'm the announcer. This is a completed version of a game that was started by James Rolfe. Is it James? No. It's not James Rolfe. James Rolfe is the Angry Video Game Nerd. But it's something very similar to that. Yeah, it's something. Maybe Casey can help me. But it's an excellent game. It's much better in 2-player. You're kind of in this maze, and there's things bouncing around it, and they're causing damage on the pavement. And you're driving on a steamroller, and you got to run over these to kind of heal them, and then also collect your color. There's like these balloon things or balls or whatever that you got to collect for points. And once everything is cleared from the screen, you have to escape the screen before it crushes you, because basically, like this wipe comes down from the top, and if you don't escape, you lose a life, even if you won the level. Steamroller as a piece of history and also as a really fun multiplayer game, which not a lot of these games are, I would put at A tier as well. My favorite game for the Intellivision, arguably my favorite game for the Intellivision, the Pandora Incident. Survival horror in space on the Intellivision. Who would have thunk it? And it's got multiple endings. It's got lots of different things that you can do. It sets the tone so well. Awesome, awesome, awesome game. Cannot recommend the Pandora Incident enough. If you are more into the arcadey kind of games, maybe it's not there, but I think it's one of those games that everybody needs to have. As is TNT Cowboy. TNT Cowboy is kind of a Bomberman with RPG elements. And it's just really, really well done. It's got a whole bunch of levels where you go through. It's got boss fights. You can choose, like, playing it through it once, you can't get every single upgrade. And so, you know, it's got replay value there. Excellent game. Dr. Volk asks, who contacts you to be involved in these homebrew developments? Do they have a beta invite or something and you sign up to be a part of it? Or do they come to you as one of the homebrew experts? So how I first got into it was literally a Facebook post saying, hey, does anybody have an Intellivision and want to test this game for me? And then I became an Elektronite game tester after that because just they need game testers. As far as, like, they don't contact, I've been a game tester for probably about 10 years. I've had my YouTube channel for a year and a half, so certainly when I started doing it, I wasn't a homebrew expert, but yeah, just luck of who you know. If you're on the Atari Age forums and you see, like, because all the publishers are on there, you can get in contact with them and say, hey, I'd love to be a game tester, but you have to have original hardware. That's the key. At least with Elektronite, we always test on original hardware. Somebody tests on a European Intellivision. I test on usually my Model 1, but sometimes I'll also test on my Model 2, because if it works on original hardware, then it should work in emulation. And if it doesn't work in emulation, that's the emulation's fault. If it works on original hardware, that's the important part. I am the master beta, sure. And then that is a Homebrew Inc. release, so that's not there. So, at least with my personal opinion, you can see why I view Elektronite as the GOAT. These guys have been the gold standard of homebrew on the Intellivision for a very long time. That is not to say, like Intellivision Collector, we got, especially as a percentage of all the games that Luke has published, lots of S's and A's. So, and even Homebrew Inc., like, you can't go wrong with a lot of these games, and, you know, the B's are good games. The C's, you know, you still probably won't be disappointed as long as you know what you're getting into. And you got your A's there. 3 great publishers. Contact information for all of these, or purchase information, is in the description. Like I said, I hold all 3 of them in high regard. They make a quality product. And your opinions may vary. And we can still be friends. So, I hope you like that. If you'd like me to do more of these tier lists, I'd be happy to. I just have to figure out what to do a tier list on, because I don't want to do a tier list on something, like, I wouldn't want to have something that I haven't played. I'm not going to, even if I have an opinion on it, it is not fair for me to give a ranking to something that I haven't played. So, like I said, I hope you liked this kind of new format. It's something that I wanted to do for quite a while, And this us not doing the podcast this week kind of just opened the opportunity to do that. So I thought it was a lot of fun. I hope you liked it. And we'll see you next time on Mike's Gaming Gala. Take care, guys.